welcome to the next episode of Drizzt Done Right, a podcast all about your favorite Drow, Drizzt Do'Urden. My name is Justin, and in this episode, we'll be diving deep into Chapter 19 of Homeland, titled Promises of Glory, discussing all of our favorite plot points, characters, and more.
Hello there, my name's Jeffrey, of course. We're pretty big fans of the D&D 5e, so we've played more than a couple campaigns now, and as seasoned veterans of the battlefield, it is our duty to take a look at this chapter and let you know how it compares to the tabletop game that we all hold near and dear.
Following along with the show is easy. Just grab a copy of the book, read the next chapter, and tune in every week. But remember, we want to hear your thoughts too, so you can reach out to us to share your favorite parts via email at drizztdoneright@gmail.com.
Also, don't forget the link that's in our episode description. It's right there, like a little handshake. It's waiting to welcome you beyond the page and into the Dim Light Squad. That's our Discord channel, where we hold more informal interactions with our guests, with our friends, with the miscreants and the misfits, the denizens of the Underdark. This week, Sevik was sharing a link of some of his music. Gotta say, definitely worth popping in and checking out, because I always love to shed just a little dimness onto the people who help make up our community. And remember, when I say dimness, I mean it in the best way, because when you go
It's
this
a compliment.
deep,
It's a compliment.
Light's got a tendency to bit more of a burden under here, right? So remember, click that link, jump in the Discord. Come on, make some friends. Let your interactions be what we are talking about next week. Justin, how you been, my bud?
Man, I've been so busy, but Jeffrey, it's just such a delight to get on here, get talking to you about this book and about our favorite parts and everything about it. So I'm excited to be here. I'm ready to go. It
is really like a fun little respite in the middle of the week. You know, you get all the chaos and all the anxiety of adulting, and then you get to sit there and click on this thing. And then for me, I imagine those people press and play, and it's like you just want to saddle up for the people watching the YouTube. You just want to saddle up to the mic and be like, hello, ready? Let's go. And then, kind of jump into it. I love doing it. Part of me loves always being a caricature too, so it's fun. It's fun.
Oh, cool. How have you been?
Oh, I can't complain. Going through the parts where you can't really get sleep too frequently.
Oh, no.
So get to see the sunrise come up a couple of mornings, dealing with sleep issues. But other than that, not too bad. If that's the worst thing I got to complain about in life, then hey man, I'm a fortunate fella.
Yeah. No, like I was telling you right before we started recording, I'll be doing night shift for the first time next week. And so that's 4 days on, 1 day off, 4 days on. Like I was saying, our plant has an outage, and so it's all hands on deck. And so I'll be right there with you watching the sun come up if you're still up in the wee morning hours there. So
well, when you check in on that Discord channel that we got, you'll see the little green light next to my name, and that'll let you know that there I am sitting there watching the screen.
Awesome. All right, well, here we are, Chapter 19. Jeffrey, you think we should jump right into the Drizzt?
I think that, like Mr. Rogers, we've walked in, we've sat down, we've taken off our jacket, we've got the bow tie and the little sweater vest pulled up tight. And yeah, man, let's take him out. Let's go. Let's burn that candle and light that fuse.
The Drizzt, it's the part of the show where we take a look at this week's chapter and we give you the Drizzt of it. So, Chapter 19 starts off with Drizzt on patrol. He's far ahead of his patrol, farther than he's supposed to be, but Gwenovar is at his side. So, he has absolutely nothing to worry about, right? The two of them could easily take on an entire colony of hookars as far as Drizzt is concerned.
Dispatch them all.
With ease, right?
Piece of cake.
With that 700-pound Bengal tiger, well, not a tiger, but panther.
Yeah. Onyx obsidian figurine. Not the Bengal.
Enormous.
Not the Bengal.
So Drizzt waits for his patrol to catch up, and while he waits, he starts having this conversation with Gwen, which is a fairly one-sided conversation.
Naturally.
Which gives us, the reader, just another opportunity to check in on how Drizzt is managing growing up in this Drow culture. Turns out, he hasn't completely assimilated just yet, saying, "I begin to wonder the worth of it all. This 10-day we have defeated a dozen monsters that might have brought great harm to the city, but to what end?" And
safety.
I mean, basically, like, would it be better? Basically saying, would it be better for them to just allow the monsters into the city and rid the Drow from this world?
Look, Zach Nafane, we get. Oh no, this is Drizzt, right?
This is
it's
Drizzt,
amazing
it's
how
very
similar, right? That
it is Zach Nafane. And I almost put that in this, but just like how very Zach Nafane of Drizzt in this moment.
Like
you
there
know,
Drizzt is pulling up with the Eiffel Tower in the background with a little espresso, sipping it up. I'm like, oh, they go to, they're done now. Gotta let the whole Drow go. And that's a horrible French accent for all of our French listeners, but sorry. Feel free to just shoot us an email. Maybe send a little voice clip so I can get better at doing the accent.
Oh, that'd be great.
Right?
So Dinan, Drizzt's older brother, sneaks in behind Drizzt, having heard at least a snippet of this conversation. Of course, Dinan starts drilling into Drizzt, scolding him for graduating from the academy and still not knowing what it means to be a Drow. Dinan reminds Drizzt that to be a Drow means that we have a lot of enemies, the worst of which are the fairies, those surface-dwelling, rotten elves that exiled the Drow, and I loved this quote from the chapter, into the bowels of the world. Just makes it sound like you're just like they're down in the guts, in the inner workings of this.
But
it's just
remember,
very cool.
too, like when he says that, it's always the catch-22, and the irony of it to me is that they always talk about the Underdark as in such a, a place that's their haven, their sanctuary. But then when they talk about the fairies, they're like, and then they cursed us here, like.
Right. Well, right.
Okay. Like, so it's that weird reinforcement of the, villain role on the fairies. It's just kind of weird to me.
Yeah, and it's like, do you actually want to be up on the surface?
Right, with that horrible ball of fire? I mean, there's room, you sure? No? Okay, stay down here.
So Dinan eventually goes on to inform Drizzt that their patrol group has been awarded the chance to venture to the surface for a raid. At last, Drizzt will be able to finally see just how vile the surface elves are, and finally feel validated when he is screaming curses in their name.
That's such a neat part of the chapter, where he's like weirdly thinking about, like, does this make me more Drow to yell curses in their names? Will I get that validation? And it's like, man, it's weirdly thinking about going to war, because for him, the raiding party, it's got to be like war, right?
Right.
To hope to find justification in his race and not hate them so much. Like,
right.
Wow, that's deep.
Yeah. So we then switch scene over to Alton and Massage, where Alton catches wind of the surface raid, saying that his sister once went on a surface raid, and it was the most marvelous experience. And
Great time.
It was my second time through this chapter. I listened to it twice this week, where the second time through, I just thought of his sister going through that. And I mean, it was probably a massacre. She was probably up there just casting spells and just destroying them all. And I'm just like, wow, how gruesome that must have been for her to describe it as a marvelous experience.
Oh, yeah. They're sitting back there kicking up, thinking about having a grand old time. Like, oh, those surface elves had such a horrible day that night. Like, oof.
Massage informs Alton that he has no intention of going along with the raid. Alton questions Massage, to which Massage basically says it was the master's decision, it wasn't his decision, and he's not going to push back on it, like he's just not going. Perhaps it was because Drow magic seems to act differently underneath the open sky. I thought that was interesting that they have this conception. I don't know if it's a misconception or if it's just an idea that they have. But yeah, they think that magic might act differently, and so they're not going to chance it.
Yeah, no, and I found this really cool because the trope of fireball is always that in the older versions of D&D, it would always take up more room. Hey, Cheaty. And so
check out the YouTube if you want to. Yep.
Cheaty making a guest appearance. But what the oh my goodness, now I lost my point because of the cat. What was I just saying? Oh, fireball, right?
Fireball.
So
yep.
They're like, oh, well, you cast it in a cavern and it actually takes up 30 cubic feet and everyone's dead. But it, so it takes a little bit. So you walk outside and you cast fireball. Imagine it would probably have nothing to bounce back or contain it. So maybe it looks a little bit spooky to you, right?
I was thinking that too.
What was neat was if you caught inside the chapter, Massage actually says he can't go even if he wanted to. Because
Right.
Massage, as the faceless one, or no, sorry, other way around. Massage can't go because Alton, as the faceless one, argued for the fact that they shouldn't, the wizards shouldn't be allowed to go on the raids because of that fireball incident. Like,
Oh,
and then
Alton
Alton's
made
like,
that.
oh, right, I totally did, like 20 years ago at this point. So it's like,
Oh, I didn't catch that.
yeah, because his sister was involved. Remember, or they were saying, and it's so
Oh.
such a weird little point in there because it's like he had a point in bringing that up, saying, "Oh, by the way, we shouldn't allow fireballs like that." And then 20 years
Right.
after that fact, there's Massage
He's
like,
like, why aren't you going?
"You know darn well why I can't go, don't you, Alton?" He's like, "Well, I
like,
did
"This
bring
is
it up
your
that we should
fault."
change that." And he's like, "Yeah, but things move slowly, so hey, here I am."
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, which is unfortunate because it was 20 years since the previous raid, and so it's probably not going to be another 20 years until the next one. So at that point, Massage
and-
wouldn't even be eligible to go.
What's cool is timeline wise, right? So that Drizzt is 30 now, right? Because he went through 10
Somewhere
years
around
of the
there, yeah.
academy, left around 20, so in and about. So this
Yeah.
means that happened as Drizzt was about halfway towards going to the academy. We never heard about it. He was busy
Right.
learning how to be like the prince of House Do'Urden and keep his eyes down. Only
True.
don't watch the spiders. And there was a whole like surface raid going on that they were like, oh, it was glorious, had a great time. And timeline wise, it's just kind of like neat that was happening, but you never heard of it. And so
Right.
it really does make you wonder, like, was it that glorious, or was it just because they were involved and they had a piece of it, so they get to, Victor go the spoils.
Maybe it was marvelous because those were the ones that made it back, And-
Right? Yeah. Because that's what they also brought up with the fireball. Is they were like, well, wasn't maybe that was just a wizard trying to off somebody,
Right.
take advantage. It's like,
Yeah.
that's a very Drow thing to do.
So Alton says that it's a pity that Massage isn't going along because he could possibly take out 2 Do'Urdens on one patrol in this one, just like suddenly like in a battle, just like, hey, there's both Do'Urdens. I could just send a fireball down there and take them both out along with maybe a couple surface elves if I'm lucky,
Yep.
And so yeah, he could possibly take out 2 of them. Massage holding Gwen's statue implies to Alton that he already has plans for the Do'Urdens, and I'm just like, oh man.
I feel it's a very Jafar kind of moment where he looks at the serpent staff that glows and he's like
Right.
slowly petting it.
All right, and then we cut back to Drizzt at Melee Magthir is what I have. Is that where they
Correct.
were at Melee Magthir? Oh, right,
No,
because
right?
yeah. That's where they were planning
Gathering
that
for the
raiding
raid.
party.
Yes.
Yep. So
Sorry.
yeah, the raiding party.
I was like, no,
no,
they were on
I,
patrol like 2 seconds ago.
Well, then I put it there and I was just like, hold on, no, that can't be right. No, it totally was. So the raiding party is deep in the planning phase of this raid. Every day they're huddled around an oval table scheming their trek. Their trek through the Underdark, the exact plan, the route that they're going to take, along with the attack once they reach the surface. What was a little concerning to Drizzt was the fact that Massage was not present. Of course, us as the reader know that Massage is not going, but here Drizzt is thinking, well, if Massage isn't going, then
Right.
what's happening with Guinevere, right? And so he thinks perhaps Sorcerer is covering their own plans with the wizard. Just they're taking care of the wizard side of the plans. But Dinan eventually delivers the bad news to Drizzt. Sorcerer has decreed that no wizards may travel to the surface. Knowing that Drizzt was hoping to take Gwen along, Dinan sternly replies, "The cat belongs to Massage."
Yeah, I love this part because I just pictured Drizzt with like his like leg nervously tapping and trying to interrupt everybody.
Right.
Hey, okay, all right. So no massage, but so okay, but if
It's his
massage
safety
stays back.
blanket.
Yep.
See, he needs that. No, he does not need any cat, but of course, loves the companionship. Loves hunting alongside something as nimble and quiet as he is. So, of course, that's something he's going to be missing. So Drizzt here was facing the greatest, most dangerous challenge of his young life. I say young, 30s. 30s is young, Jeffrey.
I like to think that, because then I'm just past young. But in the life of a drow, it is extremely young. You know what I mean? Like,
of course.
From
Hey.
what matron Malice, he's what, 1/20th her age, 1/25th. Like he's basically like a tottering little toddler over there.
Right.
They'll take him on Easter egg hunt. Here we go, little buddy.
He realizes now that he's basically on his own for this this challenge that's up ahead of him here. So again, days and nights go by with the raiding party preparing. Yes, Drizzt was disappointed that Gwen wouldn't be coming with him, but he's also very excited to finally be able to go to the surface and wreak havoc on those that deserve it most. Those evil surface elves.
Shaking my fist in the camera for YouTube. No, it was a bit of a throwaway comment I just made, like, take the little toddler out to the Easter egg hunt. But, as we go forward in these books and have more and more books, I kind of look, one of the things I want to look out for is, do they have holiday celebrations in Menzo Berenstain, and what would that even look like? So obviously they're not taking them to the Easter Bunny. They're not going to sit there and bring them up.
Well, of course, but
eggs, right? But if they
I'm
had that
sure.
sort of, I don't know, deification ceremony,
right?
Like where we bring in little baskets to Lulth with little chocolate spiders, and like obviously, again, like not that soft and cute and cuddly,
right?
But it would be neat to see what type of tradition and ceremony they have to be like, okay, little Drizzt, here's where we go buy you a little lollipop and you watch the procession of the Spider Queen, like just
right,
kind of cool.
Hey, if anyone out there knows of any Drow specific ceremonies, events, holidays, like, let us hear them on our Discord.
Yeah, come on in. We have a spoiler room. Definitely go there, and that's a great place to tell us about any of the Drow holidays, pageantry, stuff like that would come up. Like, do a little Drow gather for Christmas underneath the web of the Spider Queen and try to wait for Spider Queen Lulth to bring presents? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, what would that look like in their culture?
Yeah, and tag me when you do it, because I've been avoiding the spoiler room just because I have not read many of these books, and so I'm just reading some of it, and I'm not making sense of a lot of it, and I'm just like, you know what? I probably shouldn't be looking at this.
Keep thine eyes pure. All right, man. Well, wrapping that up, why don't we go ahead and cruck on into the dim light reel? It's not a real word. I just slapped a few of them together, and hopefully just slide it past everyone. So the dim light reel is where we cast darkness on our favorite parts of the chapter, and dim light all of our favorite characters, events, descriptions, and more. I feel like you guys are pros at this by the time you're coming along with us, but I love to just give a little summary in case somebody's diving in feet first to the deep end. So for my dim light, I had to look at the blooming relationship between Guinevere and Drizzt.
I know, right? It was a good one.
It's such a good spot to look at, right? I know a lot of you out there are huge fans of Gwen. To a lot of people, she might be the most important character not named Drizzt in the entire realm. And I get it. I just wanted to take a moment and snapshot this relationship in its infancy phase as they're still bonding with one another. Like everybody, not everybody in our Discord, a lot of the people in our Discord, you're several books ahead. You're 70 books ahead. You're 70 read-throughs ahead. And you know where it goes. But this is where it began. And I couldn't help but just look at the bonding phase that they go through together. So we start the chapter, and like you said earlier, Drizzt he's speaking his thoughts out loud to Guinevere as if she can hear him. In fact, R.A. Salvatore mentions that the cat looks up as if it had understood every word.
Right.
And I thought that was a neat part, because it's like, he's having this moment where he's just having an internal monologue and just kind of like letting out all these things he keeps buried way deep inside. And again, like her intelligent eyes just lock with his.
Right. Well, and R.A. Salvatore describes them again. This is the second time he describes her eyes as white saucer eyes.
I do love that description, though, of saucer eyes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the big moon, big moon eyes.
Yeah.
Early on, even though Guinevere has a master, it's clear that she's Drizzt's companion. And Massage understood this. He's angry that his cat's presence is required on the point with Drizzt, but Dinan would not allow an argument, and Drizzt couldn't have been happier. It's a part where, like, I guess he finally is happy to have a big brother, because he's all having there hanging out with Guinevere, and then there's Dinan over there, like, stop, I don't care, shut up, this is what's happening. I run the patrol, cat stays up front. Massage.
Yeah.
Rub the
I
figurine.
like that part.
Bring the cat.
I loved that part. It's like, the cat is mine. And he's like, but you are mine. It's like, cool.
And it's funny because it also kind of takes a look at how warriors view the magicians, right? Because he's running the party, and magician, the wizards. He's running the party, and he's all like, Massage, hey, do that parlor trick thing where you rub the figurine. Now, I need the cat.
Fine.
He's like, now what? I don't care. Go away. You're in my... Go.
Go stand back there.
So we see that they've traveled out to the limits of their patrol, further away than they should have, because Drizzt feels comfortable, he feels confident in the bonds and the skills that they both possess to complement one another if danger arose. Like you had mentioned a whole pack of hookars. Like I don't think Drizzt ever thinks twice about it. What are they? Water trolls? No. Hey, let me set up an ambush. Let's have fun. Yeah. We actually saw him do that just last chapter, right? He just springs. His last chapter, the one before. But the water trolls, where he has his back turned, and then in comes Guinevere, exit stage right, and just obliterates it. Ooh. But now we see them in the role of confidant, as Drizzt is divulging his inner monologue with no worry that his trust would be betrayed. So, he had the problem early on with Kelnos, where he thought he made a friend, and Kelnos turned around and just stabbed him in the back, literally. But in Guinevere, he has that sanctuary, that the ability to put full trust and belief into another being. The bond between the two had grown so strong that we later see in this chapter, as they're preparing for the raid to the surface, Drizzt is concerned about the location of their wizard. He doesn't care about Massage or Massage's well-being. He has one thought and one thought only: can he still bring Gwen? And he goes so far as to think that maybe he could try to convince Massage. And that's where I picture him like raising his hand, like, I will, you know what? Right, wizard's not going, but could I ask him? You think like maybe
hurt, right? Just
I mean, he already isn't going. He doesn't have anything to do. Could I? You don't have to go. I'll ask him. Yeah.
I'll just borrow it. I'll give it back when I come back.
Even though he knew it would be fruitless, he still had that part of him that had to at least try, or wanted to at least try.
Yeah.
Drizzt had been surrounded and raised by truly nefarious individuals. Even the best influence upon him is a man who has killed countless Drow in a quest to slake the unquenchable thirst for power that Matron Malice has. That's you forget that Zack is a ruthless killer, because he's got emotions. He's a conflicted man. His whole life is spent walking through a minefield that is full of quicksand in the safe spaces. Everyone is waiting to betray or assassinate him, and in the middle of it all, we find him at peace during his time with Guinevere. It's almost as if time stops when they're together, and the worries of the outside world just melt away. He's found his rock, his port in a storm. Like I said earlier, it's his sanctuary. He's found his best friend. Yeah. And I think it's excellent to revel in that journey as we go. Yeah.
It is very beautiful getting to see their relationship, knowing what they eventually become. It's just like, like they clicked straight from the beginning. Yeah. From the very beginning, the first time they met.
There was no will they, won't they? Are they going to become friends? Like, no, boom. No, just locked in. It was soulmates from the beginning.
It was love at first sight, Jeffrey.
I agree.
That's what it was.
It's those big saucer eyes.
Yep. All right. Awesome. So my dim light this week is a little short, but that's because we didn't see too much of it. But
are you going to make a dwarf joke here? Is that what that is?
Oh, man. So my dim light is Drizzt learning that his patrol is going to go to the surface for a raid. I cannot wait to read about this raid.
Oh, yeah. They're all gathered like it's New Year's Eve, too. Like, ooh, right? Raid!
Like, it didn't actually happen this chapter. I was really hoping that it was this chapter. But yeah, so when Drizzt learned about this raid, he was unsure exactly how to feel. For years, he has heard stories of how the surface elves forced the Drow underground. The Drow are now raised to despise surface elves. Even Drizzt has seen this type of brainwashing within the past few chapters, within the past 10 chapters or so, whenever he started going to Melee Magthir. Back when Master Hatchnet was doing the Master of Lore thing. Yes. When Drizzt was first entering Melee Magthir. The Drow are so brainwashed that when anything bad happens to a Drow, they curse the name of the surface elves.
Everything. Did you stub your toe this morning? Stupid surface elf.
Right. And just like, how can you curse someone that you have never met? Someone that you have only ever heard stories of? I mean, I assume they don't have any elf slaves. They have goblin
like
or
surface elves. No,
bugbears.
I don't think so. I think that they would be slaughtered on sight.
They're kill on sight, right? So, yeah, just they've only ever heard stories of them. Like, are they actually there? It would be sort of like us hating dinosaurs. We never actually saw them. We don't interact with them.
Right. Those stupid dinosaurs caused, the deforestation of. Oh man. Their heads got so big it called in an asteroid. Goodness. Stupid dinosaurs.
So I get the sense that Drizzt partially understands this hatred through this brainwashing. Like, he has heard all the stories. He's seen how other people are able to hate these surface elves, but I feel like he hasn't quite fully, like, he partially understands it, but he hasn't fully bought into it just yet. As if he has heard and he understands all these stories, but he just doesn't quite believe them yet. Like, dinosaurs never existed, Jeffrey.
What? Sir, I'm sorry. This is a different kind of podcast. Yes, they did.
But just like, you know what I'm saying.
Right.
Like, he's never met any. Like, why does he even believe that they're there? I don't know. Anyway. So I imagine that Drizzt just can't help but hope that this raid will help make sense of his entire upbringing. I feel like there's a little bit of hope in him where he'll get up there and he'll see just how horrible they are and go about killing them all and just be like, right, now I'm a drow.
Right, yeah. And it's almost
what I
this
mean?
is part of him that's holding out, like, I've been wrong, right? Like, this is what's wrong with me is I just don't know. Maybe it's because I haven't seen it yet. And, like, everybody's having such a fun time hating on these elves that, all right, yeah, I want to hate on some elves. Like, that, I guess that sounds fun, right?
I mean,
so there's a hesitancy that he's got, but he's kind of wanting to buy in a little bit because he feels so detached, so outcast.
Yeah. So, I mean, but then of course, like, if any of Drizzt's past experiences are an indication, I think he'll find out fast that Drow are, you guessed it, even more evil than previously thought of.
Shocker.
I know as I keep saying that, I've read this a few times, but I really feel like a first time reader in a lot of ways just because it's been a long time. But this raid, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
Oh, this raid. I remember this raid. I don't think I could forget it. So I am so excited for this raid to happen.
It did leave quite the impression.
Yeah. And so even though it didn't happen this week, it is my highlight. It is my dim light. Oh my goodness. Blasphemous.
Great. Now you've brought this flavor of Lolth on us. Discord. Squad, we apologize.
So even though this raid has not happened yet, it is definitely my dim light this week. So
love it.
That's what I have.
Nice.
Jeffrey, why don't you take us down into the dungeon? Take us dungeon delving.
Going down into the dungeon delve, that's the part of the show where we link this chapter with our favorite tabletop role-playing game. I couldn't resist taking a moment to delve into the dungeon and take a little bit closer look at the class of wizard.
Why, Jeffrey?
Well, I'd like to start by saying that I enjoy fantasy, okay? I enjoy the magical and the mystique. So when you hear the term wizard, there's so many iconic names that could come to mind, like Albus Dumbledore, Gandalf, Merlin, Sauron, the White Witch, Jafar, Pug, Elminster. The list could go on and on and on.
Oh, yeah.
But the chances are, if you love fantasy, then there's a wizard or two along the way who might have cast a spell or two on your imagination.
Jeffrey, once I get to my dungeon delve, I think I'm going to use that same paragraph, but with what I'm going to talk about.
Oh, I like it. I like it.
I feel like your dungeon delve overlaps with mine very well in that way. Anyway,
Excellent. I mean,
sorry.
look, the best part about Thomas English Muffins are the nooks and crannies and how they fit together. So the first question you might have when it comes to Dungeons and Dragons is, what is a wizard? Well, to keep it basic, the wizard is an arcane spellcaster capable of doing all manner of fantastic tricks and are really only limited by their spell book and their spell slots. A wizard with a full spell book can be as effective, if not more, than some of the other classes. Perhaps you have invisibility. It could make you as stealthy as a rogue. If you can summon a pet, you could temporarily replace a fighter. Or if you're clever, perhaps you could find a way to heal your allies and take the place of the party cleric. With over 200 spells at your disposal, the options are really there to be whatever you want. I feel like it's one of those infomercials where it's like, it chops, it dices, it does julienne fries. What, for $29.99? No, nay. For $19.99? No, nay. For 2 easy payments of fine.
And if you call now,
out.
you can get 2 of them.
With the party paring knife. A wizard gets 1d6 plus con modifier of HP per level. If you don't like rolling, then you can always take the standard of 4 plus your con modifier. Your primary category points to build into will be intelligence and wisdom or constitution. Unfortunately, you have no armor proficiency, as wizards tend to be quite prone to being stabbed.
Yep, they're squishy.
Just a little soft on the inside. Weapon proficiency will be in daggers, darts, slings, quarterstaffs, and light crossbows, otherwise known as weapons to keep distance between the spellcaster and whoever they're trying to hit.
Yup.
Interesting, though, that they don't have any proficiency with a bow.
That would be really cool.
But when you're spending all your time inside studying cool magic, I guess you might not have enough time to spend outside actually honing your archer skills. So that's why they do the crossbow, but not the longbow.
Right. And of course, like, you could always cast a magical arrow.
Right. That's another way you could be just as effective as the archer. I like that. No matter what type of wizard you want to be, your intelligence modifier will be crucial, as it is your spell save DC and your spell attack modifier. A handy calculation you'll need as a wizard is that your spell save DC is 8 plus proficiency bonus plus intelligence modifier. Your spell attack modifier is your proficiency bonus plus your intelligence mod. Little nerdy, hang with me, breaking it down just a little further. When you look into a wizard, there are 8 schools of magic to choose from, and how you pick will shape what you become.
8? Holy moly.
Yep, and I've got them as a list. Ready? Deep breath. Abjuration, conjuration, divination, enchantment, evocation, illusion, necromancy, and transmutation. A wizard will choose their subclass or arcane tradition at level 2. It doesn't limit you because you can still get whatever spells you want, but arcane traditions are more like a special focus, which grants you new powers at levels 2, 6, 10, and 14. For a quick example, if you choose the School of Abjuration, you'll focus on protecting yourself and your allies by conjuring safeguards and shielding effects. Level 2, you can become an arcane wizard, or you get the arcane wizard. You'll summon a protective shield around yourself whenever you're casting an abjuration spell. Handy way to get around the fact that you are a squishy, non-armor proficiency having wizard. Level 6, you can cast this ward on one of your allies instead. So now you can hide at range and cast it off on somebody else. Level 14, you gain an advantage on saving throws against spells. But more importantly, you gain resistance to all spell damage. That can come in handy.
Yeah.
These things may not deal huge damage, but maybe it helps save your party from a TPK. And that could be more valuable. Now, we've mentioned this before, but when you choose a class, you may want to pay attention to the race that you choose, because some races are better suited for different classes. As a wizard, maybe you want a human, because they could be good at anything. You can increase 2 ability scores by 1 each, and you can take a skill proficiency and feat of your choosing. Or you could be a forest gnome, because you get +2 to intelligence, which isn't all important for the wizard. But you also get a minor illusion as a cantrip instantly, which allows you to pick other cantrips when building. Or maybe, you know what, you go for a half elf. for the +2 in charisma and the +1 to 2 other skills, which would probably be intelligence and then constitution. Half-elf wizards can also take 2 skill proficiencies of their choice. So once you've decided on your race, on your class, and your subset, and what you want to become, the world is your oyster. Maybe you want to multi-class and pick up a few different perks from another category. Maybe you want to become a war mage and combine abjuration and evocation spells to protect yourself and your allies while also causing destruction on the battlefield. The combinations are endless.
They really are. I mean, how many schools were there?
8.
Was it 6? 8. Holy
There
moly.
might be, more in add-ons and additions. I just from where I was pulling it, but there was 8 when I looked into it.
Right, in the player's handbook there are 8 in the core book. But it's I know that there's at least a couple more in other official texts. Nice. One thing that would be interesting to hear what people have to say, and I don't want to put you on the spot because, there's 8 of them, and we would be sitting here a while, but what school do you guys think Massage chose?
Ooh.
So take a look through those wizard schools and let us know on our Discord what you guys think Massage took as his school. I'm going to have to go back through and read all those just to try to figure that out.
Yeah, that's... because we haven't seen him do a ton of magic.
Right. But just like personality-wise, what would make sense for him? Or for the Drows in general? Like, I mean, I don't want to say anything now. We'll leave that for a discussion on the Discord. I'm going to go ahead and introduce my Dungeon Delve for this week. And I want to talk about the elves as a D&D race.
Ooh, okay. I see exactly how they dovetail together.
Right?
But you're not just talking about elves. You're talking about those evil surface-dwelling elves.
No, I'm talking about just elves in general.
Oh, right, but they're also the evil surface-dwelling ones.
I will get to Drow as well, but yes, just like we're over half the way through this book. How did we not talk about elves as a race yet? Maybe we did, and maybe I just forgot.
But join us as we go right back down that rabbit hole. And
so elves are probably one of my favorite fantasy races to play as, because for me they represent this perfect high fantasy race more than any other race. Again, that's my opinion. That's just how I feel. But I
like to think that there's a whole lot of D&Ders listening to the podcast who have like this dwarfen mindset where they're like, stupid elf. And they gotta get that little snort and stomp going on where they're just like, yeah, of course he likes being an elf.
Well, just like, I don't know. They're just like...
I agree, though. Iconic. The ears, the nature, and their symbiotic relationship with it. I love all of it. Absolutely.
They are... by definition, like fantasy. And so just like for me, just when you are an elf, you are in this completely other magical world, and it's, I don't know. It's hard to put words to it. But that's again, my opinion.
So quick scale of ranking. Do fantasy elves come above Santa's elves, or how does your elf hierarchy?
Absolutely.
Are we going to go over those as well in the elf category? Is that abjuration magic or illusion?
Keebler elves are off the list.
They make such great cookies.
Of course, like I wanted to say, I mean more than just D&D here. Like,
yes.
When I play Elder Scrolls, I'm usually an elf. Dragon Age, elf. The original Gauntlet on the NES, elf. So, I mean, every once in a while, I'll throw an occasional human, dwarf, even orc sometimes in there. Like playing World of Warcraft, I love starting out as I forget the starting area, which probably is not great evidence that I like to play as dwarves in World of Warcraft, but Dunmoreau, love that area. I love going back through there. So, of course, dwarves hold a special place in my heart as well, but I definitely gravitate toward elves more than any other race when playing a fantasy game, just because I'm just like, human? Why would I be a human? I'm a human every day.
Right, I could do that with, my eyes closed, literally. Done.
Right. So, let's go ahead and dive in here. Elves can be found in the player's handbook on page 20 and on page 21. In fact, go ahead. Pause this if you're not driving. If you're driving, keep driving. You can just listen. But
picture it in your head. Picture it in your
head. Go ahead. Pause this. Get that book out. Get the player's handbook out.
If you're at the gym listening to this, it's going to look great. Just stop, leave the rack set, and then just pull out the book real fast.
All right. Once you're at page 21, let us know. Or go ahead and start. Okay.
Are you there yet?
Ready? Did you look at it? On page 21.
Right there.
Right here. Shoot. I didn't turn to it. I should have turned to it.
Shucks, we had all that time.
I know, right? What the heck? 21.
Bet you an elf would have found it.
Do you know what's on page 21?
Elves.
Who does that look like?
That looks like Drizzt.
That is Drizzt in the player's handbook. Drizzt is in the player's handbook on page 21. And I mean, I totally forgot he was featured there, and I was surprised when I saw him. I probably knew before, but I just totally forgot. So anyway, in 5e, elves are described as slender and graceful, ranging from under 5 feet in height to just over 6 feet for the exceptionally tall. That's like as tall as me, Jeffrey.
Yep. You would be
and you too, like you're tall too.
Sir.
They also have a timeless perspective in that they can live well over 700 years. We already know that.
Yeah, we do.
You know, after reading this and reading Lord of the Rings and watching Lord of the Rings, I always, with Tolkien's interpretation of elves, I always thought of them as eternal creatures. Like they never died. That's what it always seemed like.
They might fall in battle and stuff they go through, but the actual individuals themselves could return to Valinor, and it's a whole bit different subsect. But yeah, they essentially could be, I believe, eternal.
So maybe that was just Tolkien's own interpretation here, but in D&D, in the D&D world, 700 years,
too OP
over
to be eternal in OMP. Yeah, indeed.
So over 700 years is not uncommon. So, you know...
but they do throw in there earlier, right, when we see Matron Bayenrig, they're like, yeah, 700 years, but how old is that one?
She's like at least 1,000, right? So, yeah. I don't know. So the player's handbook does provide some possible elf names, ranging from Bryn, Celine, Therin, Felocial, and so many more.
Hello, Felocial.
And then we get into their traits. So elves get +2 to their dexterity score, probably due to their slender, gracefulness is what I tried to spell out there.
I like to call that the anti-Jeff. You know, for those who see me on the YouTube, I am neither slender nor graceful.
Oh, come on.
Nimble, maybe. Graceful, no.
They have a base movement of 30 feet, which is pretty standard. Elves have dark vision, so they can see up to 60 feet away in the dark, that is. They have keen senses, which is an ability that gives them advantage on perception checks. Does anyone use this, Jeffrey? I don't remember anyone in our group actually using this skill.
Your wife is an elf, right?
Yeah. Sorry,
she continually asks you if she'll get advantage for being a wood elf in the woods on checks. So technically, though, she does get that advantage, but not because of being in the forest that she grew up in. It's because she should have been getting the keen senses advantage.
Right. She thinks like, oh, well, since I'm a wood elf and I'm in the woods, like I should have an advantage. And it's like, no. But if she like
turns out it's actually way more OP than that, you have that advantage every time. Or for perception check.
For every perception check. Yeah. And it's just like, wow, I don't think I realized that.
It's got to be one of the things also that help make them such great rangers. You know what I mean? Like your perception, you're trying to follow the trail, you're trying to look around, what's going on. Yeah, and they get the advantage on all of it. Beautiful.
Right. Fey Ancestry is another ability they have. It gives the player advantage on saving throws against being charmed or put to sleep. So that's pretty interesting. They also have Trance. Trance makes it so that you don't have to sleep.
It's an elf dance.
So instead of having to sleep, they just have to go into this trance for 4 hours, and then they get the benefits of a long rest, which, I mean...
Jelly.
Pretty cool.
Totally jelly of any character I play, because they've got to sleep, and then we always have to figure out how to to have the watch, and it's always a pain in the butt because I feel like we never. It's like we really sleep like 12 hours a day. You know what I mean? Like because everybody's gotta get there. But if you've got a 4-hour character, sweet.
Yeah.
To recover all of that in a 4-hour meditation.
Exactly. It's really cool. So, Jeffrey, of course, I forgot the coolest thing about elves is the 3 sub-races. There's High Elf, Wood Elf, and of course, Drow. So,
well, I've got questions, but luckily you're going to explain them. Go ahead.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, if I don't answer them.
What's a High Elf? Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So High Elves, I mean, I don't have a description in my script here, but High Elves, you have a keen mind and a mastery of at least the basics of magic. So they're more like magic using elves.
Okay.
They do have, I mean, magic using elves, they get an increase of their intelligence score by 1. So they would make
they're more
wizards.
academic-minded elves instead of wood elves, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. That's a good way to put it.
They do gain proficiency with long swords, short bows, and long bows. So long and short swords, long and short bows. And they also gain 1 cantrip, any cantrip they want from the wizard spell list. Okay, nice. So like you were saying with the, I think it was the gnomes. Mm-hmm. They got a cantrip from the wizard spells, like same thing here. So that would get you a little bit of a head start on your spell list. Wood elves, just, I mean, from their name, they are woodland creatures. Living in the woods, they tend to be more stealthy and quick moving and everything. That's why they get 35 feet as their base speed. So they actually get to increase their speed by 5. They increase their wisdom score by 1, which is going to help with perception, right? Wisdom, perception. Yeah. And they also gain the proficiency of long and short swords, long and short bows, just like High Elves. You have a question.
Yes, I hate to put you on the spot with questions. I'm not sure if you're...
No. No, it's fine.
But did Drow get a charisma score increase?
Oh, we'll get there.
Okay, because I was saying, I see you went past...
Don't look at that yet.
Well, no, you said that already, right?
No. I'm on Wood Elves.
Go on. Found the wrong charisma in the note, buddy. My bad.
No, Wood Elves get +1 to their wisdom.
Score. Right, okay.
Wisdom.
Makes way more... Go ahead. I was like, wait a minute. Go ahead. We'll deal with Drow when we get there.
Yep, we'll get there. So, Wood Elves, they also get this ability, Mask of the Wild.
Zelda?
Sorry, my wife was just hanging her head through the door saying, I'm a Wood Elf.
That's what we were just talking about.
We were just talking about that. So Mask, I'm recording, hon.
You should tell her to come in and introduce her Wood Elf real fast.
Wood Elf.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a live Wood Elf standing off to Justin's right.
So Mask of the Wild makes it so that they can attempt to hide even when they are only lightly obscured, whether it's by foliage, fog or a mist, rain, snow, like etc. Just light cover. So they're quick and nimble enough that they're able to hide in areas where they're not completely obscured.
Is that all the time, or do they have to cast it? Is it a cantrip? Or, I mean, like,
well,
that's what I was wondering.
To hide is an action.
Yes.
So it wouldn't really. It's not a spell. It's just it's something they're good at.
Right, but they can hide in places that most people can't. That's what I'm saying.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not that they're...
So that's just an innate ability they have, is to be extra great at being stealthy. Okay, cool.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. And then, of course, there's Drow, which this whole book has been about so far, so I don't really need to give a description on what a Drow is. But as far as the... And yeah, of course, like we've been talking about it throughout all of these episodes, but I'm going to highlight them anyway. So Drow get a charisma score increase of +1.
Okay, so
go ahead, Jeffrey.
Gotta ask. So Drow get a charisma increase?
They get a charisma increase.
So for me, and maybe I'm way off base, I thought it was always like just understood that Drow are scorned wherever they go. Like people don't like Drow. Like they go above the surface and people are looking at them like, you're gonna steal something, aren't you?
Yeah.
Like you don't belong around here. They get a charisma bonus?
They get a charisma bonus. And I don't have a great reason why. Because
maybe they just feel bad that you're gonna have to be tested more than other people. You know what I mean? Like knowing that they're just not gonna trust you.
Well, the only thing I can think of
good poker
is
face.
What spellcasters use charisma?
Bards.
Do bards? Yeah, bards do. Are there Drow bards?
Well, remember we had this discussion that you could be, right? I think.
I mean, of course, you could be anything, right? I mean, but that wouldn't be ideal. Warlocks is what I was thinking.
Okay.
Warlocks are charisma. I'm pretty sure. But I mean, it would make sense for Drow to be more likely to be warlocks. Like they say that Massage is a wizard, right?
Yeah.
But I kind of wonder if they might be more like warlocks instead. And Lolth or some other patron, some other demon of Lolth is their patron.
I like that. I mean, it also makes sense too if you think about it. They're very cunning. They're very, guile. They have very good guile, and they're very great at deception. I guess you would need charisma deception. In order to sit there and be like, no, yeah, sure, go ahead and attack House Do'Urden, and we've never met.
Right. I mean, well, like you were saying before, you think of Drow as being scorned by everyone, like they're not liked by everyone, but at the same time charisma can be used in things such as deception and things like that.
Right.
No, totally. That makes a lot of sense. But anyway, charisma, they get a +1. They get superior dark vision, which extends their dark vision from 60 up to 120 feet in darkness, which makes sense. They are living underground all the time. This also does give them sunlight sensitivity, though. That means that when they make perception checks in the light, and attacks on targets that are in the light, they have disadvantage on those.
Could you craft yourself sunglasses and take away that disadvantage?
Sunglasses.
So just for reference sake, you could make a slit inside of a material and wear that over your eyes, much like they wear if you're on a glacier or some kind of a snow hike to keep from going snowblind. And this doesn't actually make sunglasses, but it does cut down on the amount of reflective light that's beamed into your eyes. Just wondering if you could do that. Is that a question for the DM and to
that would be a question for the DM.
Okay. Because I was like, man, maybe I find cover myself in mud and I wear some sunglasses and I can just roll around.
Yeah, I never considered that, but yeah, I mean, some like really thick sunglasses, really dark. I mean, maybe.
Like I wear my sunglasses.
So Drow training gives proficiency with rapiers, short swords, and hand crossbows. And I kept reading here, and no scimitars.
A little odd. I expected there to be scimitars.
But no scimitars. And then lastly, Drow get some spells, which we already know. We've already referred to them throughout these chapters. But Dancing Lights at level 1, Fairy Fire at level 3, and Darkness at level 5.
Nice.
So I thought it was interesting that there's also a little footnote. There's a little footnote. I'm not on the page anymore, but on the page just below where it talks about the Drow. And it's basically like, hey, Drow are really evil, and this is why. And they go into all those details. And again, you probably don't want to be a Drow because they're more likely to show up as a monster in your campaign. But hey, let's not forget about how Drizzt Do'Urden broke the mold and became a good-hearted Drow. And it's like, I feel like that's really cool.
It is.
Again, like just multiple times in which Drizzt is being referred to here. Really love it. And I know I've allowed 2 Drow in my campaigns before that did not break the mold. and we talked about them just a couple episodes ago. That was rough. But yeah, anyway.
Well, sometimes it turns out Drow will eat one another, just like they're supposed to.
Yup. All right. Well, that's the Dungeon Delve. That's my Dungeon Delve.
Oh, no.
And I think that's going to do it for this episode, Jeffrey.
Already?
So, yeah. So thank you, everyone that has kept up with us through this episode. Remember that if you like the show, give us a rating. Hey, if you're on the YouTube, leave us a comment. We don't get many comments out there. I would love to hear some more comments. And give us a rating. I already said that because I skipped back up.
We need more ratings.
And make sure to subscribe. Hey, Jeffrey.
Yes.
We now have over 100 subscribers on Spotify alone.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yeah, we would have to find an auditorium to actually pack all of the listeners inside of at the same time. And it wouldn't be able to be like a cheap, small public school auditorium. It'd have to be one of those nice auditoriums.
So make sure that you guys are reading along, or if you don't have time to read, pick up the audiobook and listen to it during your downtime while you're driving to work, when you're out for a walk in the Underdark, or strolling through the frozen wastelands of Icewind Dale. When you've read the next chapter, shoot us an email at drizztdoneright@gmail.com, or get onto that Discord and get in on the discussion. Remember that link is in the description of the podcast, so you can join our Discord there. We would love to see you all there.
There's a lot of ways y'all can reach out to us, or you can help the show. We also mentioned earlier, you can leave the review, drop a comment, share us with your friends and family, click that like button, run around outside screaming the Drizzt Done Right is slowly taking over the neighborhood, one radio at a time. Or if you're slow and kind, we do have that button on the episode description. It says support this podcast. If you want to shower us with adulation and money, well, that's your right. We're not going to stop you. So whether you're clicking the Discord invitation or link to support the podcast, or maybe you click them both, and after that, we'll still be here waiting for you until the next time that you hit play. Saying goodbye is never something I like to do. You might have noticed. I'd rather say farewell. Play fair. Be well.